Welcome back to the Daily Crypto Roundup Deep Dive. Today we're telling one of the greatest comeback stories in the entire crypto world, the story of Solana. If you've been in this space long enough, you'll remember the days when Solana was written off as a failed experiment. Network outages, vanishing liquidity, a chain that seemed dead in the water. But fast forward to today, Solana isn't just alive, it's thriving. From record daily users to an explosion in developer activity, this is the return no one saw coming. This is the Solana comeback, from crashes to crypto's fastest chain. When Solana first burst onto the scene in 2020, it was hailed as the Ethereum killer. It promised blazing speed, ultra-low fees, and scalability that could handle everything from NFTs to real-world payments. For a while, it delivered. Transactions per second soared, venture capital flooded in, and the ecosystem exploded with energy. But by late 2021 and through 2022, everything started to fall apart. The outages came, again and again. Blocks stopped producing. Validators couldn't sync. Developers and users watched helplessly as their transactions froze midair. Critics said it proved the chain was fundamentally flawed, too centralized, and too experimental to survive. Then, in November 2022, came the knockout punch, the collapse of FTX. FTX had been one of Solana's biggest backers. Sam Bankman-Fried was one of its loudest supporters. When FTX imploded, Solana's token crashed more than 95% from its highs. Billions of dollars in value were wiped out overnight. Projects built on Solana went dark. Analysts on CNBC called it the end of Solana. For most blockchains, that would have been it. A short-lived experiment destined for the history books. But for Solana, it was just the beginning of a long rebuild. Underneath the chaos, the core developers never stopped working. Anatoly Yakovenko, Solana's co-founder, barely gave interviews, but those close to the foundation said he was determined not to let the project die. "The code doesn't care about headlines," he once said in a closed developer call that was later leaked online. "If we can fix the performance, the people will come back." And he was right. In 2023, Solana's engineers rolled out a series of critical upgrades, including Firedancer, a new independent validator client built by Jump Crypto. Firedancer was designed to make the network virtually impossible to halt, capable of processing over 1 million transactions per second in testing. It was a turning point. The outages started to disappear. The network became faster, more reliable, and, for the first time, respected again by developers who'd left for Ethereum or Polygon. By mid-2024, a remarkable thing had happened. Solana wasn't just back online, it was booming. New projects flooded in. DeFi protocols like Jupiter and MarginFi began seeing huge volume spikes. The meme coin Bonk, which started as a joke, turned into a liquidity magnet. NFT collections that once migrated to Ethereum returned home, thanks to Solana's low costs. But the real game changer wasn't the coins. It was the people. Developers who had written off Solana quietly began to rebuild on it. According to data from Electric Capital, Solana saw one of the fastest recoveries in developer activity in crypto history, over a 35% jump year on year. Then came the Saga phone, Solana's bold attempt to merge blockchain with hardware. Most critics laughed at the idea of a crypto smartphone, but it turned into a sleeper hit. The Saga's seamless integration with Solana's ecosystem allowed users to mint NFTs, manage tokens, and access DeFi directly from their pockets. When the phone sold out, the project launched the Chapter 2 version in 2025, triggering a new wave of on-chain airdrops. Each one of those airdrops, from Bonk to Tensor, turned into mini marketing campaigns for the chain itself. Overnight, people who had never used Solana were suddenly active users. By early 2025, Solana was handling more than 1.3 million daily active wallets, a record high that rivaled some centralized exchanges in usage. Its transaction costs remained fractions of a cent, while Ethereum's remained high during peak demand. That contrast caught Wall Street's attention. Galaxy Digital called Solana the most efficient L1 network for retail adoption. VanEck's analysts began covering it seriously, describing it as the chain with the best combination of speed and composability. Even BlackRock's digital assets team mentioned Solana in internal research memos as the only non-Ethereum network with real throughput. Halfway through 2025, Solana had gone from being the butt of jokes to being the benchmark of performance. But let's not sugarcoat it. It wasn't easy. Through the bear market, developers kept building without fanfare. Funding dried up, venture capital fled, and only the most committed teams survived. What saved Solana wasn't hype. It was conviction. A quote from Austin Federa, Solana Foundation's head of strategy, summed it up perfectly. "We were left for dead." The community rebuilt this chain, not the investors. That's the difference. And that rebuild became a symbol for something larger. The resilience of open-source technology. You can't kill an idea that runs on thousands of independent machines. Solana's story is a mirror of the crypto market itself. Volatile, unpredictable, and yet somehow unstoppable. But before we go deeper, let's take a quick pause for a reminder. Because the more volatile the market gets, the more important security becomes. This episode is brought to you by Ledger. If you're holding Solana, Bitcoin, or any crypto asset, now's the time to take self-custody seriously. A Ledger hardware wallet gives you full control of your private keys, keeping your crypto safe from hacks, exchanges, and accidents. You can grab yours today using the link in the description. Now, back to the story. By the second half of 2025, Solana was everywhere. Its DeFi total value locked had rebounded past $4 billion. NFT marketplaces like Tensor and Magic Eden were once again thriving. The network's average transaction speed was under 400 milliseconds, faster than almost any blockchain ever built. But perhaps the most symbolic milestone came when institutions started quietly entering the space again. VanEck filed for a Solana ETF in mid-2025, citing growing investor demand for exposure to Sol's expanding ecosystem. The application didn't just excite retail, it validated Solana's comeback to the big leagues. The numbers told the story best. In just 1 year, Solana's price recovered nearly 700% from its post-FTX lows. Daily transactions exceeded 40 million, and active developers crossed 2,000, up from barely 1,100 the year before. Analyst Raoul Pal described it best on his Global Macro Investor podcast. Solana feels like Ethereum in 2017, an ecosystem that was counted out, now running faster than anyone else. He wasn't exaggerating. The Solana ecosystem had matured beyond trading and speculation. Payments, gaming, and real-world asset projects were all finding traction. Even Shopify began testing a pilot using Solana Pay for instant, feeless transactions in certain regions. Meanwhile, traditional companies started looking at Solana not as a meme chain, but as a serious financial infrastructure layer. And that's where the real comeback lies. Not just in the price, but in perception. In crypto, narratives drive everything. Solana went from being the broken chain to the people's chain. Because it proved something no press release could. That innovation doesn't always come from perfection. Sometimes it comes from failure. Each crash, each outage, each setback forced Solana to become more efficient, more resilient, and more decentralized. When we talk about comebacks, we often focus on price. But Solana's comeback is about belief. It's about the people who never sold their coins, who kept validating, coding, and defending it when the world laughed. And now, those same people are watching their faith rewarded. Still, the future isn't guaranteed. Solana faces competition from Ethereum's Layer 2s, from Avalanche's subnets, and from new entrants like Aptos and Sui. Its biggest challenge will be proving that its speed doesn't come at the cost of decentralization. But make no mistake, Solana has earned its second chance. It has become the ultimate case study in how technology, community, and persistence can rebuild something that seemed broken beyond repair. As Anatoly Yakovenko said at Breakpoint this year, the chain never gave up on itself, neither did the people. And that's why, no matter where the market goes next, Solana has already achieved what few projects ever do. Survival with momentum. So if you're listening to this right now, whether you're a builder, trader, or long-term investor, remember this. Solana's comeback isn't just about one blockchain. It's a reminder of what happens when innovation refuses to die. That's the power of conviction. That's the power of open code. And that's what makes crypto unstoppable. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Leave us a 5-star rating if you're enjoying these deep dives, and hit follow so you never miss an episode. Like always, we'll see you at the top.